Okay, welcome to class, everybody. Today we have Ernie with us, and a little bit about Ernie. He's a director on the Purdue Alumni Association, and as you might expect, a boiler. He has 2 degrees from here. His PhD and his undergrad degree are both from Purdue, and he is also an entrepreneur and leader in the finance space, thought leader in the finance space. So we would like to turn the time over to Ernie to give us a little bit of a background and tell us a little bit about himself.
All right, thank you very much. And first of all, class, boiler up. So your first impression, I don't know if you can see my suit yet, but when you can see it, you'll see that what is that guy wearing? So that is my personal brand. So we'll talk about that later. So I actually have a lot of things going on being an entrepreneur. I have 2 companies that I run, and I was also persuaded to work full-time at a company recently. So got a lot of stuff going on. I'm a Boilermaker. My son is a Boilermaker as well. So he is now learning remotely. So this is an interesting time for me as well. He's in cybersecurity, so hopefully he'll be able to take care of his old man someday. So let's just talk. I'm going to read off slides a little bit. Shame on me. But just a little bit before I get into my background, here's some quotes, and I'll give you a lot of quotes because these matter. So when I was your age, I was like, I hate quotes. Now I love quotes, and I read them to myself. Here's a good mindset. Whether you're an entrepreneur or intrapreneur, 2 different things. We'll talk about that later. Every single day, I lose. And unless you're good at dealing with the same thing, you will not like entrepreneurship. So you have to get rid of your fear of failure. You have to take the road that's in front of you and learn how to define that. You need to react. You can't have thin skin if you're an entrepreneur. So I'll just tell you that right up front. You're going to lose every day, but when you win, it makes it all worthwhile. So entrepreneurship, I love this pick. It's a winding road. So for me, I'm a professional student. I was an undergrad at Purdue. I got my degree in honors economics. I was the only one that ever got it. So pat myself on the back, right? I wanted to be a professor. So when I was going out of school, there wasn't a lot of job openings. Now, when I was back in school, we didn't have job fair, career fair. They weren't trying to tell me how to get a job. It was kind of like go into the wild and see what happens. And so I was just like, I don't know what to do, so I'm going to go to grad school. Not only am I going to grad school, I'm going to be a PhD student because I think I'm really smart. So I did that, and I got into PhD student at Purdue, tried to do economics at Purdue, going right from undergrad, and I sucked. So sorry to use the word suck so early, but I'm going to use it many times. So one thing is that you need to do is you have to realize that you'll suck at something, and you have to learn how to move on with your life. It took me a long time to move on from my life. So I got into academia. I actually switched from econ to ag econ because it was really interesting. Started studying precision agriculture because it was really a new technology and innovation, and we'll see how that fits later. So I was really kind of ahead of my time. So when I look at the research being done, probably 20-something years from what I was trying to do, they haven't figured it out yet. So that's good. So then after my failure at Purdue, which was a learning experience, I transitioned to corporate life. I followed my wife. She was an engineer. She graduated from Purdue. So I had to take a step back, right? I had my path. I'm going to do this. This is what I'm going to do, exactly how I'm going to do it. This is what I'm doing. I have to do it this way. And that's one thing you'll learn. Look at the road over here, right? Life doesn't work that way. If you try and make life work that way, see those cliffs over there? You're gonna fall off it, and you're not going to be able to get back up. So I took a job for 2 weeks as a corporate trainer, and then a company chased after me called Franklin Electric. So I originally worked in marketing. I had no training in marketing. I just did what was told to me. Back then, we had something called competitive intelligence. If you knew how to use the internet, you were down for that. And then when I was there, I started organizing golf outings, and I got in the CFO's ear, hey, I want to work in finance. What's going on with finance? And he finally pulled me up to his office, and he said, are you serious? And I said, you bet. So I started my life in corporate treasury, which was amazing. More on that later. I learned more in the 6 years than I was there than I have the rest of my life. I'm still leveraging that. So what I want to tell you is, like it or not, you're going to have 5 or 6 years of your life which are going to fuel the rest of your career. And so I'm still leveraging all that I've learned there. And then after that life, I'm gonna be honest with you. someone says, have you ever been fired to me? I said, I've been fired many times. So don't be afraid to get fired. So we'll talk about that later. I'll say every time I've gotten fired, there was a good reason, and I've always gone upward on the corporate chart. So, and then from that, I went to a professional association, which was the Association for Financial Professionals. Amazing. 2 years there, learned an awful lot, learned how to do conferences, learned how to communicate with impact, learn how to function somewhat in the most politically charged environment of my entire life. And then from there, once I was tired of that, I was like I was in a cubicle for 8 years. So just look at my jacket, right? Oh my God, people still don't believe that. And so I transitioned from there. There was a startup company called Performative. They were doing online communities. That's when that was a thing. Chief financial officer. So they brought me on. They said, hey, I want you to do treasury, because that was my thing. I got there. After about 2 months, I said, you know, you're chief marketing officer. And I did say this. I said, he's kind of an idiot. So we need to change that. So I took that on. I started doing marketing, right? I don't know marketing. I just learned marketing. That's called passion for learning. I learned that, right? Started doing the marketing, helped them build that company up. I was involved in everything. Website, marketing. One reason I was so successful with that is I learned LinkedIn. It was a new thing. I learned it. That's still my thing. I'm still leveraging that 10 years later. I helped them build up a business doing webinars, which, as you know right now, that's incredibly out there because of the remote reality, right? The coronavirus. Got them up and running, built a business there in webinars, got them from zero up to over $1 million in revenue. And webinars are like an 80% margin business. So they were liking that. So then after I bumped up against some problems there, I decided to go out and start my own company, where I had to discover, right, my entrepreneurship, right? How do I start my own company? How do I leverage what I learned? So I focused on two things that I did very well, which was write content and also do webinars. And so going back and forth on that. And so I became my own boss. And so for me, it made the most sense for me to be my own boss. I have very strong morals in the way that I expect my people to be treated and the way I like to be treated. And I didn't like to answer to folks, but more about that later. Someone actually lured me out of that. So just absorb that for a minute. This guy at Purdue, one of the top 100 seniors at Purdue, I was recognized at. I'm going to go out and set the world on fire. I'm going to make $1 gazillion. How long did it take me to find my niche? I don't even think I did it before I was 40 years old, right? But I can tell you this, I get paid to speak across the country, and you'll never find a story like I have. So let's talk about entrepreneur. So entrepreneur, we all kind of know what that is. An entrepreneur is how to be innovative within your company. A lot of you will not be entrepreneurs right out of the gate, which is perfectly fine. But you need to be an entrepreneur. What does that mean? Works inside a company to develop innovative ideas or projects that will enhance the company's future. You need to think outside the box a little bit, align yourself with people that think outside of the box, and have the courage to be innovative. An entrepreneur is generally given autonomy to work on a project that can have impact on the company. That's huge. I hope you go to GE and you make $1 gazillion, but guess what? You're going to be put in a tight box. They're going to tell you exactly what to do, when to do it. You're going to do this. It's the GE way. I'm going to do it GE. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's not me. So you have to figure out how to be more of an entrepreneur. What is that? It gives you access to folks, building your brand across the company, right? And over time, when you're an entrepreneur, you may turn into an entrepreneur. So let's not get focused on entrepreneur. And then one of the things I'll say is that you can read books on how to be an entrepreneur. It's kind of like being a parent. You don't know how to be a parent until you are a parent, right? You don't know how you're going to be a successful entrepreneur until you are one. But here is what matters: connecting with people that are entrepreneurs. And so let's see what the success. I already did that slide. Shame on me. So here's my life philosophy. So let's get to the important stuff. And these things are important regardless of the career that you chose. What you'll learn as you get older, and I always heard this stuff, but man, if I could go back to when I was 25, I would make a lot of money. Is it because I'm brilliant? No. It's just because I know how to deal with people. I know how to deal with situations, and I know how to make the best of. I learn how to take a mistake into an opportunity. So here's my things. I'll give you more details here. Live, listen, learn, fail and fall forward, and repeat every day. Live. Give myself PR, right? Life is about the journey. You don't always control the journey. The sooner you realize that, the better. You do control who you share that journey with in your personal and professional life, and how you react to the obstacles and detours you will encounter on the road. For me, look at this jacket I have. I live, I have fun. I learn how to have fun in my job. If people don't like to have fun, if my clients don't like to have fun, then I don't work with them. You cannot, hopefully you get there someday. Learning is not a chore, it's a way of life. You're already at Purdue, it's a great place, but you have to be cognizant of the fact that just because you got a degree from Purdue, that doesn't mean jack squat. Sorry, it's just a fact. You need to learn every single day, be cognizant of what's going on, get in front of the curve, whether it's technology, learning how to collaborate, innovate. You can't look at learning as a chore, it's a way of life. And the sooner you get that, the more opportunities you have. And it's amazing for me to see now when I talk to people that are looking for senior level folks, C-suite people, they don't talk about technical skills. They talk about learning, innovating, leading across the enterprise. Thank God, because it's taken too long. Fall forward. In failure is where life's most important lessons will be learned. If you never fail and you've never sucked at anything, then you're not pushing yourself hard enough. Don't be afraid to fail. Please do not. And fall forward, right? We're all gonna take a dive. Get back up. Don't be afraid to punch above your weight. Get yourself knocked down. Learn how to get yourself back up. Repeat. You'll do well to live, learn, and fall forward every day. This is the thing that I learned from my wife. God love her. She's a saint. I've been married 25 years. Success is a journey. It's not a destination. You have to earn success every day. Success is rented every single day. You have to be in that thought process every single day. So in closing, before I get to all of your amazing questions, my favorite quote, I probably read this every couple months. Your time is limited. Don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. This is key for an entrepreneur. Don't drown out your inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. Have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. So with that, let's go ahead and answer some of your amazing questions. Note if we don't get to all of your questions, please reach out to me on LinkedIn and I'll give you a longer answer than you ever want, but we'll do it over the phone. So go ahead, Scott, let's go ahead and dive into some of these questions. All right, Scott, I think you're on mute. Gotta love technology. All right.
There we go. So the first question, in regard to your article titled "The Rise of the Social CFO," which of the 5 soft skills that you mentioned CFOs need to master do you believe to be the most crucial in today's society, and why?
Wow, that's a pretty deep question. I don't know if I'm a philosopher, but I do my best. So, I mean, it's at the top of the list. It's listening. So listening is an art. I talk too much. You should really look at a course on listening. The best presentation I ever had at a company was an hour presentation on how to listen effectively. So listen to learn, not to react. And so that's key. But also just to jump on that with what's going on right now, when you listen, you understand what people's challenges are and how you can help. So whether you're helping someone on a personal level or a professional level, you will always get back more than you give. And the people that you least expect to be helpful to you in your personal and professional life, those will be the ones that make the most impact.
Thank you. So the next question, what does a normal day look like for you? How do you balance everything? As CEO of 360 Thought Leadership Counseling, what is one thing that you have struggled with? So I guess 2 questions.
Okay, 2 questions. Well, the first thing I'll tell you is no day is the same. So it's just something that you learn. So here's what's going on a lot in the economy. Everyone's learning to work from home and manage people from home. So you have to be flexible. And so you have to be willing to switch your gears, right, on a daily basis. So you need to learn how to not work out of your inbox. And so you have to give yourself the flexibility to respond. Some days I focus on my speaking. Some days I focus on the job that I just took at an API automation company. And some days I focus on, just something completely different, thought leadership, writing an article, doing an interview, doing a podcast. So there's not a normal day. What do you struggle with? For me, even though I do a lot of webinars, I thrive on human interaction. So being able to interact with folks on a daily basis and respond to their energy. And I think just keeping yourself in a positive mindset as an entrepreneur, you're going to have really bad days. You need to know how to pull yourself out. What are your levers, right? What is it that no matter what you do, is going to put a smile on your face? What are you going to listen to? I love 80s music. I love Chris Farley clips. I know no matter how bad I feel, I'm going to click on a Chris Farley clip. I'm going to click on Journey. I'm going to listen to REO Speedwagon. That you got to know how to jump yourself into a positive place.
Get out of a van by the river.
Exactly. I live there.
So building on that, what problems are you facing as a leader because of this pandemic?
Yeah, I think really what it's all about is being connected. And so you have to make sure that not only the people that work with you, but your clients have the resources that they need to be successful. So the first thing that I've done for the people that I work with, and even people that are not my current clients, I reach out and I say, what can I do to help you? Is there things you're struggling with? And I'm sharing resources on how to manage people remotely. And so I want to get people to feel comfortable, ask them what they need, right? And then also teach them how to communicate remotely, how to engage remotely, and how to look at these changes as opportunities rather than looking at them as disruptions in how they do business.
So with that, you mentioned a couple, but how has your tool set changed in the last week for solving problems?
I don't know if it's necessarily changed. I would say it's changed in the last month. So I started working remotely again for a company out in California, and they have this tool called Slack, and it's really cool. I mean, it's kind of like email, but if you think about an email, how you have all these conversations you'd like to group in these folders, and now I can have, and it also helps you unclutter your inbox so you get no emails from your internal folks. And so I think that's probably the biggest thing, is just different tools. But also I've got an influx of everyone wants to do webinars now, and I'm also doing a full-blown virtual conference later in the year. So I'm having to actually adjust to not jumping on new business just for the sake of new business, and having to take a step back and say, my customer wants to spend more money, but does it really make sense for them to do that right now, right? So I see other of my competitors out there do a webinar every week. They're trying to pull money in, and I'm like, we need to be supporting people, being a strategic partner, and not trying to take advantage of this situation. So it's a mindset of even being more helpful and being more proactive than normal.
Very cool. Thank you. So changing gears a little bit, you're a stand-up comic. That's one of your hobbies. How have the skills you've learned as a stand-up comic helped you in your role as CEO?
I think it's each person, right? So for me, the reason I got into it was because I needed a new challenge. So I've been doing presentations for like 20 years, and I'm actually pretty popular, but that's an easy audience. I'm talking to finance professionals. If you're mildly entertaining, right, that's kind of a low bar. And so I started doing stand-up, and I'll be honest, I sucked. And most people that suck, they're like, I'm done. I'm like, oh, heck no. So it gave me a new challenge, right? So to me, it was a challenge to improve myself, right? Improve my presentations, improve how I interact with people. And the other thing, it energizes me. And so for me, it helps me make people laugh. And if my life was perfect, I'd be a stand-up comic and make people laugh, because there's nothing better than making someone laugh and making them feel better. And so for me, it's also helped me listen and pay more attention to nonverbal cues, because it's hard to look out there and you see someone's verbal cues. So I think to me, it's helped me kind of knock my ego down a little bit, which is probably needed. So I think that was interesting. But you have to be authentic, right? Maybe you're not a stand-up comic, but maybe you ask someone, hey, you want to go to lunch and talk about X, Y, Z. So it's about getting yourself out of your comfort zone, and then having the courage to not be good at something and taking that as a challenge instead of a roadblock.
Thank you. So when you look at your entrepreneurial journey, what has been the biggest setback, and how did you overcome it?
I've had many, but I think it was really just getting started, because when I was at Purdue and I realized it was time to change and I wasn't going to be a professor, it really like knocked me on my rear end because I'd never failed before. My whole life was school, A, you're the greatest student ever. And then I realized that I didn't control my destiny when I was in academia. If someone didn't like me, if they didn't like the way I wrote, then my career could be derailed. And so I had to have the courage to say, you know what, I don't know what's going to happen, right? So it's just getting started. So just getting started on that entrepreneurial journey, that's part of it. The other part of it is learning to fail, learning to just not take things personally, learning how to fall forward. So I think that's kind of the biggest thing is to really find, and the other thing is the struggle is find your passion, find what you're good at, and realize what you're not good at. Don't try and beat your head against the wall. I wasn't going to be a good professor. There's a lot of people with PhDs who are not the brightest bulbs in the world. Sorry to burst your bubble, people. There's a lot of CEOs that suck. There's a lot of people that you think are awesome and they suck. And I would never want to speak with them more than 5 minutes. And so it's about finding your passion and making an impact in the way that you want to make an impact, but also being able to support your family and do everything else you want to do.
Thank you. So this class is made up of mostly seniors. This is the capstone class for the entrepreneurship certificate program. So what is one piece of advice you would like to give a student who's just starting out? Well, a graduate, someone who's graduating in May, what piece of advice would you like to hand them?
I would say the first thing that you want to do is look at the network that you have. Look to Purdue, look to the resources that you have and have conversations. Anyone who wants to have a conversation with me offline, reach out to me. Just tap into the knowledge that's out there, right? Don't be afraid to reach out. So have your vision of what you want to do, share that vision with someone and be willing to accept the criticism, the good and the bad, and also have the mindset of the journey might not be easy. Things are changing. So I think it's just be positive, build that network out, understand where you're at, where you want to go, and what you need to do to get there, and let someone help you fill those gaps, but also say, have a plan B and a plan C, right? And then don't get stuck. Career success doesn't mean this. It means getting to here. I want to do what I love to do, rather than I want to be a CFO. That's a totally different animal. So that would kind of be a long-winded answer. My advice is to reach out to me directly and have that conversation, because it's going to be different for each person. I need to know your personality, what you're trying to do, why you're trying to do it. Don't try and fit yourself into a box. Don't spend $10,000 on a leadership course. Don't spend $10,000 on emotional, whatever they call it. You need to find someone that is in your network. It might be your dad. It might be your dad's golf buddy. It might be someone's your professor. Somebody will connect with you and help and resonate with you, and you'll get it from talking with them, not by doing an out-of-the-box course.
Awesome. So looking at your career, obviously, I mean, just talking about, being in academia and realizing that wasn't for you, you've pivoted more than once throughout your career. What really stood out for you? I mean, you mentioned feeling like this just isn't your thing, but how do you know when it's time to change? How do you know when it's time to pivot?
Yeah, I think there's two parts of it. One part is that very few people love to go to work on Monday, but as that dread becomes more and more, and you have to be honest with yourself, if your job changes who you are as a person. So when I was in corporate America, I realized that they were expecting me to have a business switch that would go on and off, and that's just not my personality. And I started to look at things that made me happy. And when I was in corporate life, I loved doing presentations. I loved writing content. I love talking to finance professionals. And that's what drove me to the Association for Financial Professionals. And so I think you always want to have more than one oar in the water, right? And when you go to work, you row the boat. When it becomes really hard to row the boat, maybe you have an outside interest and it becomes more fun to row the boat, right? And you don't mind the work. And for me, it's like, don't shut yourself off to opportunity. Create your own opportunity. So when I was at that startup, someone else was doing marketing and I didn't say it like he's bad. I just kind of was like, you know what? hey, John, what about this? What about that? And then I kind of started asking to take things over. And then John's like, wow, you have a thing for marketing. So that's where my career took me. My career took me to marketing. And I was very successful in marketing. Marketing eventually took me to running my events. Running my events took me to public speaking. So I had to follow things that made me happy. So, and I was also willing to um, ask, hey, can I do this? Can I do that? And then, like I said, and I always told people that work for me, I want you to be happy. So if you're in marketing and you want to go into sales or want to go whatever, I'm happy to do that. If you want to change your career, that's fine. But I'd say the biggest thing is let life kind of help you, guide you on your journey. And when you start to change who you are as a person, that's when you know it's time to leave.
I like that. Thank you. So you have a video leveraging LinkedIn to impact career success in Treasury, and you provided on LinkedIn and discusses your perspective in utilizing LinkedIn. My question is, what tips / advice would you give to people going into an industry for the first time, as far as using LinkedIn?
Right. So this is also probably an offline conversation, and I think maybe in the fall we might have a whole session on leveraging LinkedIn. I'm kind of wanting to do that. And so what you want to do is you want to start building your network on the low-hanging fruit, right? So I can show people how to use LinkedIn. You can find Purdue alumni. Oh God, will they love to connect with you. So it's like, hey, John, I'm in finance. I see you're a CFO. I'd love to connect with you on LinkedIn and learn from you. How? And then what you'll start to see is you will get a little bit of mentorship. You don't have to have a formal mentor and have a mentor plan and all that. That's too much. But you'll have people that will guide you. So there's ways you have to build your profile, right? Talk about that. Understand the connections that you need to make, that you want to make, and then how you make them, right? And then what you want to do is you want to start to develop your brand with your professional peers, not only within your company, but with your professional peers. And then you'll want to learn, and it sounds hard, you can create content that moves you into what I call thought leadership, which is not just helping people sell, it's helping people in your profession be better at their jobs. That's my whole life. I want to help anyone in the office of the CFO be better at their jobs. Oh, by the way, I can get paid to do that, and you don't have to pay for it. So that's the thing. So you want to, and you also, as you start to do that, you'll start to see that your company's impressed as well, right? You view learning as a way of life. And so when you go and speak at professional conferences and you get the company name out there, isn't it cool? Franklin Electric is recognized as one of the leaders in the country on how to do corporate treasury. You think people at Franklin Electric don't like that? So it's kind of a dual thing. Build your brand, right? But also figure out, if there's leads for your company, let's figure out how to sell without selling, whether that's yourself or your company's products. And that's kind of what doing LinkedIn the right way is all about.
On the topic of thought leadership, one of the questions is, what should we be reading? What's any books or any other things that you suggest in order to help shift your mind in that thought leader mentality?
I'm not proud of this. I'm not a big book person. But there will be folks that you're connected with on LinkedIn, people that you're professors that you like to read books. And so I don't have the answer to that question. I think it's everyone's journey, right? On doing that, I think that once you define the niche of what area you're in, whether that's finance and what industry you're in, right? What I do is as I follow people on LinkedIn, maybe I follow them on Twitter, and then I see what they're writing, how they're communicating, and then there's just ways to do search, right, by thought leadership. But what thought leadership about, again, to take it down to an easy notch for me is, how do I make myself better at what I'm doing? And so it can even be life, right? I'm giving you thought leadership on how to be more productive and live your life and be a better father and parent. I can also be telling you how to be a better treasury professional at your company, how to be a better resource to your peers. And so that's kind of the way that I look at that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ernie. It looks like we're at the end of our time. Do you have any other last comments you want to leave the class?
I sure do. I actually have a book on Amazon.com, and it's about managing your career. So anyone that reaches out to me, I'm happy to get you a free copy of that book. Not trying to sell my stuff. I think there's a lot of good 360-degree career advice there. And also, as engaged as you want to be with me, I will be engaged with you. Make the effort. I will give you more than you ask me. So take advantage of that. And of course, finally, boiler up.
Thank you, Ernie.
Thank you.